Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to this very special video here on SAFC Fan TV with your host, Jacob Kirkbride, for the League One playoff preview for the 2020-2021 season. Before we get into today's playoff preview video here on SAFC Fan TV, just to let you know that this video is sponsored by the OneFootball app. If you'd like to know the best stats and data on the beautiful game right now, then the OneFootball app is the place to go. It has the best analysis for whatever team you'd like to pick, whether it's a team you support or a team that you have a soft spot for. Also, the latest transfer news regarding comings and goings out of the club you select, and also the latest scorelines, giving you updates for whatever league you pick, and also live text to feed from a certain game that could be taking place as well. So news, live scores, highlights, and also videos as well. The OneFootball app, it's an absolutely fantastic app. I've got it myself. I'm absolutely delighted with it. Link in it is in the description below. You will not be disappointed. The OneFootball app, go and get it downloaded. It is absolutely superb. So back onto today's video for the League One playoff preview for the 2020-2021 League One season. Representing Lincoln City from the Stacey West podcast, we have got Jake Tong. Representing Blackpool FC from Lee Charles TV, we have got Mr. Lee Charles himself. And also the final team as part of the League One playoffs this season, Oxford United. We've got a massive Oxford United fan, Joe Citron, who was on SAFC Fan TV earlier on in the season, talking about Sunderland's 2-0 win at the Kazam Stadium earlier on in the season. Guys, how are we doing tonight?
Great here.
So
good,
what?
mate. Good to hear.
Good to hear. So what better place to start than talking about Sunderland's opponents in the League One playoffs this season than Lincoln City? Jake, we're going to start with you, mate. So Lincoln City this season started very well, I should say. Only one defeat in their first 9 games. Were top of the table actually before Sunderland played them in one of Lee Johnson's first games in charge, and it was a fantastic 4-0 win at Sincil Bank that day. Standout performances from Anthony Scully this season. He's expected to be a key player for use in over the 2 legs against Sunderland in the League One playoffs, and also a talented creative midfielder in George Grant as well. Finished 5th this season, scored 69 goals and conceded 50. But Jake, overall, how would you rate Lincoln City's season?
I think, considering the start of the season, I think I probably predicted us to finish 9th in the table. We came 16th last year. Obviously, we had the manager changeover from Cowley to Appleton, which was, difficult for the club. Obviously, I know Joe's a big Appleton man. I've had to put a lot of trust in Joe in the last the last year or so, because whatever he's told me has sort of come to fruition really, which has been really good. But obviously we're not really expecting to be here. We weren't expected to be here, but the season we've had, being in the top 2 for most of it, it's sort of disappointing that we are. But yeah, as I say, it's been fantastic. We've had some really good results against some really good teams. Obviously we had the Checker Trade Trophy final, semi-final run as well, which you beat us in again. The Papa John, the Papa John's. My pizza dream on Wembley Way was dashed, but
never quite got a slice of the action.
Yeah, well, we've won it before, so we didn't need to win it again. So
that's very true.
Yeah, it's been a good season. It's been fantastic. We shouldn't be here, but we are, and we're ready to take Sunderland on. And hopefully one of Blackpool or Oxford as well.
I mean, dipping into your form going into the 2 legs, I mean, only 1 win from your last 5 league games. I mean, dropped off a bit in terms of your performances defensively recently. Michael Appleton, how important has he been, though, for you this season in terms of trying to take your side to the next level, in terms of the side that you had when you first came into this league, and also the side that you had when you came up through the conference as well in that 2016-17 season, when you went on that brilliant FA Cup run and then got promoted into the Football League as well?
Well, I'm a massive advocate of Michael Appleton, as I mentioned. Joe is as well. Obviously he's adapted really well to the job. We had a massive overhaul of players in the January window, his first window, which we sort of expected. I think we had about 8 or 9 outgoings, 8 or 9 incomings as well. a similar sort of window in the summer. But you mentioned the bad form towards the sort of the end of the season. I think we confirmed the playoff spot with 3 games to go. So we were sort of, that posh game. So we and you look at the injuries we've had as well. George Grant's been out. We've had Joe Walsh been out. Alan Jackson was out. Half our squad was out injured with COVID. So we managed to call a few games off and get everybody back fit, which helped. But Appleton has signed some really good players. The loan players this year are arguably amongst the best in the division, with Brennan Johnson, who will inevitably go on and play for Forest next year in the Championship, and Morgan Rogers, who I have no doubt in my mind will go on and establish himself at Manchester City. Michael Appleton has obviously evolved. He plays a really good, attractive style of football. It can get nasty at times. That second half against Blackpool, I think we were quite nasty. Lee will probably tell you.
Very nasty. Very nasty.
But Appleton he's done a really good job. He's been linked with a few jobs in the Championship. Bristol City were after him. I think it was due to Oxford connections that they were after him, but I think the man has now gone to Ipswich, and then he was linked with the Preston job, where he had a large chunk of his playing career up at Preston. So we're really happy to have him, and thankfully he's just signed a new long-term contract, so he shan't be going anywhere anytime soon. But I don't think he'll get manager of the season, because I think that probably goes to Liam Richardson of Wigan or Jimmy Floyd, but he's definitely up there as the best managers in the division.
I mean, Jake, looking back for when we played you 3 times this season. The first was a 4-0 win at Sinsel Bank. It was one of Lee Johnson's first games in charge, and then the second time was actually in a semi-final once again this season in the Papa John's Trophy, which we ended up coming out with the win on penalty kicks. It was a 1-1 draw after extra. Was it extra time, or was it after? No, it was straight to penalties, wasn't it? And then it went. Was it after 90 minutes? It was a 1-1 draw, and then the league game at the Stadium of Light ended in a 1-1 draw as well. Callum McFadzean scoring for us. That was it. Anthony Scully got the equalising goal. Callum Morton got the equalising goal. I mean, how would you assess your performances against us this season? I mean, pretty mixed, I would say. But even in the game where we won 4-0 at Sinsel Bank, I would say in the first 10 minutes you could have been out of sight. 2 clear-cut chances you had on the break in that game. But coming from a Sunderland fan's point of view, I still think that you've put in solid performances against us this season. It's all about now the crunch time in the playoffs. You've got us over 2 legs, sticking to your game plan. But how do you think you guys will set up against Sunderland in the playoffs, and how would you assess your performances against Sunderland this season, the games that you've played?
I think we've been unlucky to not beat you so far this year. Obviously, the 4-0 at Sinsel Bank, you alluded to Brennan Johnson missing 2 gilt-edge opportunities before you guys even had a sniff. That Brennan Johnson has evolved massively now, and now he takes that opportunity and he scores those 2 goals. That's just how having young players in the team works. The Checker Trade Trophy game, I thought we were the better team in. We went 1-0 up. I thought we looked comfortable. And then I think it was Aidan McGeady into Charlie White, which has been said about 95 million times this season. And then the game at the Stadium of Light, you went 1-0 up just before half time, which I thought was a bit undeserved, but it happens in football, and we clawed back and got a point, and arguably we hit the crossbar a few times and probably could have beat you as well there. So unfortunate, we've got a point to prove, and you know what, there's all this debacle about having the home game second in the playoffs. I don't think that's an advantage this season. You and Blackpool, I think, you look at the best away records in the season, and we're top of the away records table. So even if we don't win in the home game, if we get a draw or something like that, I'd probably back us to come and get a result at the Stadium of Light, especially if you've got 10,000 angry fans being toxic like you can be, So, it's all to play for in this 2-legged tie, and it's a game I know we're really looking forward to. Michael Appleton's been saying in the press this week that training has had a real edge to it this week. Players that haven't been featuring are really up for it. So, and obviously we've not been in the Championship for a very long time, so it'd be nice to do Sunderland over on the way there, which would be nice. But yeah, it's a tough tie. Not the toughest that we could have got. We could have played Blackpool, who finished 3rd. I'm glad we've not got Blackpool. But yeah, you know, Sunderland, we've been unfortunate to lose twice and draw once. So I'd be an idiot not to back us, but obviously you guys finished above us in the table, so you were better over 46 games because the table doesn't lie. So yes, we're excited, but equally as nervous.
To be honest, Jake, I would say we're as nervous as just as you at this moment in time. So we're now going to move on to our second fixture in the League One playoffs this season, which is Blackpool against Oxford United, which will be carried out over 2 legs. The first leg being at the Kazam Stadium and then ending at Bloomfield Road. But we're going to go to our next fan now, Lee, representing Blackpool FC from Lee Charles TV. So Lee, talk to me about Blackpool this season. I mean, you were the highest finishers out of the 4 teams on this chat tonight. Finished 3rd, best defensive record, only conceded 37 goals this season. Yep. But I mean, just talk to me about the downward spiral and a bit of the rise recently you've had since the days of Ian Holloway, when you got promoted it into the Premier League, the days of Charlie Adam, David Vaughan, Gary Taylor-Fletcher as well. The Oyston family being in charge of the club, you know, tennis balls being thrown onto the pitch.
That's it.
Talk about, was it the damage that inflicted and how much of a recovery your club's making now from those dark times?
It's hard to put into words, really, what happened at Blackpool Football Club. I mean, we never liked the Oystons. Let's get things straight. You know, they've been with us for like 30 odd years and they've been the most hated owners over years and years and years. And how we actually got into the Premier League with the Oystons in charge, they just did a miracle thing and brought a guy called Valery Balakon in who came into the club and said, I'm going to get you in the Premier League in 5 years. And I was like, you're having a laugh, pal. There's not a chance of us getting in the Premier League in 50 years, let alone 5 years. But he got us in 4, which is quite amazing, really. So it made me eat my hat and everything else. And of course, they went into the Premier League and the Oystons didn't spend a penny. We borrowed players from the Championship. We basically came out with all the £110 million. We had to build a stand in the summertime, which I actually went down every day and watched them build. I used to have my sandwiches there and everything. I was so excited about it all. They just basically straight away after the Premier League, Owen paid himself a massive reward to himself, a director's bonus of £12 million or something. It was all in the Gazette, and that was the start of it, really. And they just never put any of the money back in that we got out of the Premier League, which of course ended up in a court battle in the end, because it was Valery Balakon that put his £5 million in, and he bought Charlie Adam and did all these things and built the South Stand and everything. And then when they got in the Premier League, they just kind of froze him out of everything, so he didn't get a penny of what he was due. So he took them to court. And when the judge awarded him £34.5 million, it was like a goal going in at Wembley. There was that many Blackpool fans in the courtroom, and the judge was an Arsenal fan. And a lot of Blackpool fans do believe that there was that little bit of a footballer fan inside him that saw the terrible things, because the Oystons. Not only did they take the money, but the breaking thing was that they started suing fans, and if you know, but they started taking fans to court over things that they said on internet message boards and stuff, and people were having to settle out of court because it was all libel, and libel cases are like a rich man's game where you've got to have the money to be able to fight them. You know what I mean? If you're fighting a billionaire against a libel case, you've got no chance, really. So fans were settling out of court. Tim Fielding, who was then the Blackpool Supporters Trust chairman, he was a solicitor, and he'd said that they misappropriated funds, and he had to pay £25,000 fine. There was another guy called Frank Knight who said something, and the Blackpool fans raised his £25,000 fine for him. So they were really fining our family and our friends, and we just said no more, we're not going anymore. And we had been doing lots of sort of demonstrations. We've been outside the ground, demonstrating. We did the tennis ball thing, and of course the Oystons turned up with tennis rackets, just to take the total pee out of us. And that's just how they were. Carl Oyston had a thing made that he put on Bloomfield Road which said Blackpool FC Oystons cash cow, and stood by it and all this sort of stuff. They were just obnoxious, so it was great to get them out. But the sad thing was that we were not up anymore for 5 years. So if you can imagine, my youngest was 8 years old when the Not a Penny More came in, I stopped going, and he was asking me about Bloomfield Bear. So he'd be saying like, how does he tie his shoes, and where does he eat, and where does he live, and all this sort of thing. He was that age, he was still asking about the mascot. I come back 5 years later, he's like 14. He's at AFC Field Academy. He's all football. He's next to me saying, what's going on there? He should be on the right. I'm thinking, blooming, he's not talking about Bloomfield Bear anymore. And it's those years that we missed as a dad. Taking your boys to football, and you can never get them back. You know what I mean? And it's a family thing. I went with my dad, and I've take my boys, and it's fantastic. It was quite an emotional time when we came back. We didn't know what was going to happen, which owner we were going to get, and we've actually got a really, from now, he looks a really good owner. He's a Blackpool fan. He's got loads and loads of money, and he started doing all the things that have been annoying us, like the rust, and just the whole ground was kind of falling apart. Like if it was your house and your ground, you would look after it, but they just didn't look after anything. So he's starting to repair things. He's got plans for a new training ground, which the Oysters promised for 30 years. Stanley Matthews used to play on the training ground that we've got down at Squires Gate. It's just terrible. So they're building, and then a process of finding a new place to build a new training ground. And, they're trying to get the academy, all set up, working properly, instead of the way it was before, where boys would join a Blackpool academy and then they just get loaned out towards the end to some club and just like forgotten about, and nobody ever came through the academy. And there's plans to finish off that sort of permanent temporary sort of stand that we've got. So it's all looking good. And yes, Blackpool fans have got our club back. And even if we don't go up, and even if nothing happens, just the fact that we've actually got football to watch again is that's fabulous. What I mean? Just that's it. And anything's a bonus for us, really. If we do get up, it's a bonus. But even if we don't, it doesn't matter. I can go to a football match and go and cheer them on and shout, and So, and of course, COVID has come along. I just got back in the ground. We've been out for another year because of bloody COVID. Yeah. So I still can't. So I've got a ticket. We're going to be going to the home match. So I will actually be in the ground finally. So looking forward to that.
I bet you're very excited about that lead. Looking at the reaction on your face. But going back to Blackpool's season, finished third in the league. 60 goals scored. It is the lowest of the four teams, but
can't score.
Garbage. But this is the interesting stat. Only
just get one again. That's it's like after all the watch-alongs. Honestly, I've been on heart pills for about 6 months because the last 10 minutes of every game is like heart attack alley. It's an absolute nightmare. Yeah, we just final ball has been poor, but we're slowly but surely getting better towards the end of the season. So we've been coming. We've been coming. When we played Peterborough, I was doing a live stream and I had loads of Sunderland fans coming in my stream. They were saying, come on, Blackpool, beat Peterborough. We need to beat Peterborough so we can get automatic. And they're all like this. And I actually did a video after it. I said, you're all in my stream cheering on Peterborough. We actually battered Peterborough, and I said, we've got to play you twice and you're coming on here cheering us on. You've got Blackpool to play. You haven't played us yet. And they're all like, oh, that's very disrespectful to Sunderland and all, little Blackpool. And of course, we went and beat you twice. Being honest.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to come on. We're going to come on to that in just a sec. But
back to 1-0. In the last 10 minutes, the score.
Yeah,
absolute hell.
Yeah, 2-1 as it was, by the way. But going back onto your season, was it only 2 league defeats in the last 21 league games that you've had? I mean, a remarkable record.
Stupid Rochdale and stupid Shrewsbury Town.
But
also, two teams we both should have won. Lincoln City we should have beat. That would have been 8 points and we'd be promoted.
Yeah, but was it key plays you had this? Was it Luke Garbutt, who we tried to sign last summer? Sully Kaikai, who hit an absolute left foot rocket at the stadium of
club. Picture to him.
Steady on, Lee there, mate. But also a player that you took from us on loan at the start. It was Elliot Embleton. How much of
Embo, it's Embo, and he's the Lord of the Ball. That's the song.
How much of an impact has he been for you in the second half of the season?
It was really good until you guys got to him. when he played us and we couldn't play. And obviously somebody twisted his head. And he hasn't been quite as good. But
he's done the
he's
double
come
over
back
us
now.
twice, so he must be doing
He didn't
something
play
wrong.
for. He didn't play for you. He's been one of you know, the good thing. All I can say about Blackpool is we've got Neil Critchley, and he is a good coach. You know what I mean? He's one of the top rated coaches in the world, and he was at Liverpool for 8 years, and he gets guys. And trust me, when you get Embo back, you'll think, who is this player? Because Critchley's been coaching him, and so it's not a bad thing giving players to Blackpool. You know, Everton have given us, you know, players, Nottingham Forest, and they're going to get them back better than they were when they sent them to us, because they're getting really good coaching. You know, even Chris Maxwell has said, you know, he might as well have thrown 15 years of coaching away, because he's come with Critchley and he's told him things that he's never been coached. You know what I mean? So it'll be good for you in the long run when you get Embo back, because you think, God, you know, this guy's really good, and that's because of the coaching he's getting. But he's a good player. He's a really good player, and I'm surprised you loaned him to us, and I'm sure you're all surprised you loaned him to us as well. But I think at that time when you loaned, you know, we were down, I don't know, 16th, 17th or something. But we all knew, Blackpool fans all knew, we had about like 8 games in hand. We were thinking, they don't think we're very good, but we'll come. And of course, you know, we did come, but all too, you know, just you know, we ran out of season really. If it had gone on, if there'd have been more games, you know, we could have got automatic, because we've been brilliant, haven't we, since October really. But we started off.
Yeah, I mean,
terrible start.
Your 2 wins against us came in the second half of the season when you're on fantastic run of form. What did you make of your performances against Sunderland in the 2-1 wins that you had?
Hell, absolute hell. 10-minute hell. It was all right. So the last 10 minutes, but that's how Blackpool are. But I thought when we played you I thought we played better at the Stadium of Light than we did at Bloomfield Road, if you know what I mean. Honestly, it was kicking it anywhere for about 35 minutes at Bloomfield Road. I don't know how you didn't get an equaliser, if I'm going to be honest. But you're a bit of a bully team, I thought. You know, one of the players goes off with a dislocated elbow, didn't want to go off. You know, he tried to carry on, but he couldn't. And it was a bit tasty. I've got to say, you go in a bit hard to Sunderland. But we managed to get a win somehow, 1-0. But I thought at Stadium of Light, I thought we played really, really well until the last 10 minutes where you came at us. And I thought, you know, Maxwell just did pull off some, you know, wonder saves, didn't he? I've got to say, they were really good. And how he hasn't got in the team of the year, and Lee Burge has. We're all very upset about it. He's got the Golden Glove and everything for the best goalkeeper, and they put Lee Burge in the team of the season, which is just, but anyway.
Hopefully Lee Burge can prove.
Blackpool, aren't we? We're only little Blackpool.
Hopefully Lee Burge can prove the doubters wrong going into the playoffs, mate. So
maybe.
I hope so. I mean, going on to the final team of the League One.
At Bloomfield Road, didn't he? Like go under him, didn't he?
That was a lucky goal, that one, mate.
It was Lee Burge. It was a disaster goalkeeper, wasn't it?
Yeah, every goal
team of the year. You're having a laugh. Yeah.
Every goalkeeper goes for a pad patch, mate. I have every faith he'll turn
Not
it
Maxi.
around.
Not Maxi.
No, he's a good stopper as well, to be fair. Going on to the final team of the League One playoffs this season, Oxford United finished 6th this season, scored 77 goals, Joe, the highest goals scored out of the 4 teams competing in the playoffs this season. However, the worst defence, 56 goals conceded, but 1 defeat in your last 7 games. But the influential man you've got in the dugout, Carl Robinson, he's not going to be there, is he? A touchline ban on the cards. But how would you rate Oxford United's season overall, Joe?
Very difficult to sum up in 1 sentence or even 10 minutes, because it's been such a roller coaster of a season. I think the best way to sum it up would be a terrible start, an amazing middle, and then a pretty solid end, and that's sort of managed to get us into the top 6. I think it's been a crazy season for multiple reasons, obviously, but I think you're right in bringing up the fact that goals has really been our what has got us to this point, certainly in the second half of the season, since we brought in 2 players in Brandon Barker and Elliot Lee and Matty Taylor. When you got Matty Taylor up front in this division, he's always going to sniff out goals, and he's managed to do that really, really well. But there have been points in this season where we thought maybe we'd be having a scrap near the other end of the table. I mean, certainly when we played Sunderland early in the season, I remember talking to you, Jacob, and I wasn't very optimistic about our chances whatsoever after that game. And certainly when we got beat off Lincoln early in the season, on the first day of the season, in fact, wasn't particularly looking forward to what was to come at that point. But you've got to give full credit to Carl Robinson. I think the turning point was our derby defeat to Swindon. I think since then, I think some tough conversations had to be had after that game, and we had to change things up a little bit. And I think since then, we've just grown and grown, went on an amazing 9-game winning run over December, which really catapulted us back from sort of bottom 4 strugglers right into mid-table. And then I think since that point, we've just been chipping away, and then managed to gate crash the playoffs in the last day of the season in the absence of poor old Portsmouth. But to be honest, we do feel like the team that's not really meant to be here. All you lot have sort of been challenging for most of the season. Certainly Lincoln have been up there for basically all of the season, whereas we've sort of gate crashed it at the last minute. But yeah, we're just looking forward to it, and just very excited to what's to come, really, because it's this season. I think it's just kind of proven that anything can happen. I don't think at Christmas anyone would have thought we'd be at this point. So hopefully we can just keep on dreaming for a couple more weeks at least.
I mean, onto the games that we played you this season. It was a 2-0 win at the Kazam Stadium in our first away game of the season, and a 3-1 victory at the Stadium of Light, where there was a bit of a scrappage towards the end of the game. We're not going to go into too much detail on that. A bit of passion took over. But how would you assess your performances against Sunderland this season, and how would you say you'll be able to take some of those effective before, particularly in the second game at the Stadium of Light, where I thought for 45 minutes you had us really on the ropes up until where Lyndon Gooch got the equalising goal? How much of an importance will that be to take that into Blackpool over 2 legs?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I was to summarise our 2 games against Sunderland, let's say the first one was a shambles, and the second one was a bit of a shambles as well, to be fair, but not really for anything to do with our doing. I mean, I think a slight a certain referee maybe cost us in that one. But to be fair, yeah, I mean, I think our record against the top 6, against the top sides this season is pretty dismal. So I think we're going in as the rank outsiders in this game. I think we've played quite well in a couple of the games against the top sides, but we've just missed out. I mean, to be honest, I think coming into this playoffs, I think similar to what Jake said earlier, we're coming in as a team that's not really expected to be here. Anything's a bonus. We're looking forward to it, but I don't think anyone really expected us to be here. And yeah, I mean, I think we're just looking forward to it. I think it's more excitement to get back in the ground than even anything else at this point. I don't think many people are expecting us to really do anything, especially against Blackpool, who, to be fair, bossed us all over the park in both games. Really, I can't argue with certainly the second game. We were totally outclassed. But yeah, I mean, we're looking forward to it, and hopefully we can pull off a few more shocks. We've certainly done that sort of second half of the season. We've been the side pulling off the shocks. Hopefully we can do it a couple more times.
Joe, talk to me about some of the key players you've had for Oxford this season. Lewis Mamonsa, Elliot Lee has been a key player for you as well. I mean, are you expected to keep those players going into the start of next season? And do you think they'll make an important contribution in the playoffs as well? But over the course of the season, how effective have they been to contribute to the position where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we've got a strong group, and I think a group that's developed over the course of the season, I think it would be fair to say, because I think at the start of the season we had quite a few inexperienced players. It's sort of part of our model, part of our remit, really, to bring in players and to develop them. I think if you look at the example of Rob Atkinson and Elliot Moore at the back, I think at the start of the season, those were 2 players that were probably thrown in the deep end a little bit too soon at the heart of our defence. But as the season progressed, have really kicked on and formed a really formidable partnership. And I think you could say the same with quite a few players. But I think what's really kicked us on is the January additions we made. I think in particular Elliot Lee on loan from Luton Town, I think has been a really inspired signing. Playing either just off the striker or on the right-hand side, I think has been a really good signing, a very oxygenated player, somebody who's technically excellent, makes good decisions, very clever player. Not necessarily super quick or or anything like that, but somebody who's just got skill, who's technically very, very sound. And I think he's been massive. Brandon Barker has been injured in recent weeks, but has been excellent coming on loan from Rangers. And I think finding a formula to the midfield has been, it's been a bit of a conundrum all season. What is our best midfield? We've played around with so many different combinations, and I think we've hit upon something that really works in recent weeks with Cameron Brannigan sitting in the number 6 position. Mark Sykes and James Henry just in front, I think, has really been massive for us actually in terms of getting that consistency going. Whether we'll be able to keep hold of them, Oxford United over the past few years have proven that they are a bit of a selling club. We have had to sell to survive, but also sell to be able to buy the next one. So I imagine we would lose one. We usually use at least one a summer. That's kind of our model. Which one? I'd hate to have to choose. I mean, the only way we don't probably is if we come out of this playoff victorious and we are in the Championship. That's the only way I can really see us keeping hold of our all of our key assets. Certainly hope to keep hold of most of them, but it is going to be tough. But hopefully, if they can step up in the playoffs, we might be able to see a little bit more of them.
Absolutely. I mean, going into your two-leg semi-final against Blackpool, without Carl Robinson there, how much of a miss will that be? Particularly, you've got the home leg first. Carl Robinson on the touchline at the Kazam Stadium. He's really influential, getting the messages he wants to get across to the players in your squad. I mean, how would you assess going into the 2 legs? I mean, would you put yourself as favourites, or do you reckon that there could be a few twists and turns over the 2 legs against Blackpool? Ended the season strongly.
I would not dare to call us favourites coming into this game based on how we played against Blackpool last time out. But if you're in terms of the influence of Carl Robinson, I think it's a bit of a funny point because we've been without Carl Robinson for 2 games. He's been banned from the touchline this season. We've got an aggregate score over those 2 games of 10-0. So we've not been too badly affected so far for the games that he's not been around. A 6-0 win and a 4-0 win. It's not been too bad so far. So hopefully, I mean, maybe that's the magic formula. Not having Carl might be what we've needed.
Oxford 10, Blackpool 0. Then you heard it here first.
Over the 2 legs. Let's not be too.
You just said 2 games. That's all you need. 10-0.
But no, I mean, Carl is
over. Can I go down below and he can go on?
I mean, Carl is such a huge character, but to be fair, I think sometimes watching from the stands you can get a slightly different perspective. And I think Carl has actually spoken previously about him actually being a little bit, having a view of the whole pitch, and still, of course, now that you can call down to the bench, you can get your messages across quite easily. It's not been too much of an impact, but I'm sure Carl up there will be tearing his hair out. Not that he'll be desperate to get down to that touchline, but as you say, it adds a little bit more spice and a little bit more intrigue into these games. I mean, I don't know. I find that quite a fascinating thing, really, that Carl won't be down by the touchline, but we haven't suffered too badly so far. So if we can carry on with the results we've had so far with Carl's not there, then I think we'll be all right.
It's tactical. That's what it is. Tactical. I know it's tactical. We've been all celebrating up here, so that's that gone then. It's just let me just tear up my pad here, just throw that away.
Tear up the Wembley ticket.
Yeah.
Only time will tell.
I'll strike that off my video. I won't be mentioning that then.
Anyway, chaps, we've come to the most important part of this playoff preview video here on SAFC Fan TV. I'm going to need a score prediction from each of you for both the legs that you've got to play. We're going to start with you, Jake. A prediction for the first leg at Sincil Bank, and then going over to the second leg at the Stadium of Light, where 10,000 passionate Mackhams will be in attendance.
God, I don't want to get crucified here, coming on a Sunderland channel.
Go for whatever you want, Pat.
Realistically, I think we might draw at home. I'd probably say 1-1, because Sunderland, seem to draw most of their games 1-1. And then at the Stadium of Light, I think we're going to back us. I think we'll win 2-1. So I think we're going to Wembley. But having said that, we'll probably lose 10 in aggregate, and we'll playing League One next year. But I have to come on here and back Lincoln to do you over. So I think we're going to get past you, but only just.
I mean, Jake, I just hope you're wrong. That's the only thing I'm going to say. But Lee, we're going to come on to you next. Prediction for the first game at the Kazam Stadium, and then for the return leg at Bloomfield Road. Well,
there'll be 1-0. That's what it is, isn't it? That's how it is when I watch Blackpool. Just 1-0 to Blackpool, both of them. It seems to be par for the course for us. So I don't know. Everybody here, we've got to back our own team. We're good away from home. We're actually, we've been really, really good away from home this season. I've got to back Blackpool. We finished third, but I do know, Blackpool fans do know that coming in 6th place can get you in the Premier League. And if you come in on form, and you're the form team, and they are the form team. So out of the teams that we were looking at, really, we wanted Portsmouth, you know what I mean? We were kind of all rooting for Portsmouth because we knew they weren't very good, and they played as good as we kind of knew they were and blew it all, didn't they? So we were fearing Charlton as well. So yeah, Oxford's I think that's the first time we've ever actually won at the Kazam Stadium, isn't it? I was there the year when you played at the Manor Ground, and my mate was at uni at Oxford, and we went down, and you scored in like the last kick of the game. We had a great goal disallowed, and you got promoted, and we didn't, but we went on to
of course.
And then we went on to win did we win the playoffs that year? No, that was yeah, we did. We went on from there to actually win the playoffs. But yeah, I was there. Oh no, no, that was Bradford, wasn't it? Yeah, that was the year of Bradford. No, we didn't make the playoffs, and we lost. It was a disaster. But yes, all thanks to Oxford. I was there. I stayed in some horrible student digs. I can't even describe him, to be honest. You went in this loo, and it was like all black with fluorescent. There was no light, but there was just fluorescent things on the walls. It's very odd. But yes, I remember that really well. And they're not really a lucky side for us, Oxford. So I go with caution, but I've got to back Blackpool to win. So if you want a score prediction out of me, I'll go for winning 1-0 away, and we'll win 2-0 at home. How's that?
And finally, Joe, it's all down to you. Will we be getting a Matty Taylor special over the 2 legs? So I need a score prediction from the first leg at the Kazam Stadium and the return leg at Bloomfield Road.
To be honest, I've only just actually come to terms with the fact we're actually in the playoffs, so this seems very strange. But I really don't know. I think Blackpool is a really, really tough one to play, and I think if we could avoid any team, probably would have been Blackpool. But that being said, we come in with momentum. I think that's always important whenever you go into the playoffs. Probably the most important thing you can have is a little bit of momentum. And I think the way that we got into the playoffs on the last day, sneaking in, I think that gives us that little bit of belief, that little bit of confidence, and I hope that we can at least make a good account of ourselves. I mean, last year in the playoffs, although we got to the final and only missed out by the odd goal, we didn't play to the best of our ability, I don't think, in any of the games. This time, I hope that we can at least make a good account of ourselves, and we can hopefully get through. I mean, in my mind, the way that things went down at the Stadium of Light, it's just set up for a Sunderland Oxford final. That's just the way that I've been thinking that for a long time, and it just seems an Oxford Sunderland final is what I think will happen.
Can we just leave, Lee? Should we just go?
That's okay.
It's okay. As much as yeah, go. Well, I'd rather play Lincoln. I mean, there's just so much history between honestly what went down at the Stadium of Light early in the season. But no, I mean, I think we will win the home one, and we'll lose the away one, but we'll sneak through. I think we'll win the first one 2-0, and we'll lose the second one 1-0, and we'll have the most nerviest near heart attack experiences ever at Bloomfield Road, but we'll sneak through, and then we'll do Sunderland in the final. How about
that? Well, only time will tell. Chaps,
sticking a bet on that. You've no chance. I'll stick a bet on that score. You've got no chance.
I bet Lee's loving a good bet going into these League One playoffs.
Oh, I'll be back in Oxford. Trust me. I never win. I never ever win a bet. Honestly, I bet Andy Murray to win Wimbledon to beat Djokovic because I hated him and I lost 20 quid. I was jumping up and down all over the house because I lost 20 quid. I bet Cardiff to beat Blackpool. The things people would always say to me, Lee, have you backed against Blackpool? I say, yeah, I have. There was one time where there was a combination. There was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 different combinations which would have sent Blackpool down. And each one was stood to win me like £1,800 on each one. And obviously I bet them all. I think it was like, I don't know, £5 on each one. Of course, I was standing to win. I thought, I'll never win £1,800. There's not a bloody chance in hell. So I thought, I'll back every combination possible, and we stayed up.
Blackpool fans
tenner on Oxford.
Blackpool fans secretly love tennis then, because then you spent years throwing tennis balls onto the pitch, and now
they did that for the simple reason that you're not allowed to throw missiles onto the pitch, and you could get obviously a lifetime ban, but you can throw a tennis ball on. In fact, you can. It's not a missile. You can throw a tennis ball on all you want. So that's why they threw tennis balls on, because you couldn't get a lifetime ban for throwing a missile on the pitch, because it's not a missile.
We'll tell our fans to throw them at Aidan McGeady then on Wednesday.
Phone the facts
for you. Aidan McGeady, so we can.
Geeds, honestly, we're just hoping for a Geeds masterclass next Wednesday, Jake. I tell you that.
Yeah.
But guys, anyway.
Player. Both of those players, Charlie Wyke and McGeady, are good players. No, they are good players. You can't take it away. They're good.
On their day. Anyway, chaps, thank you so much for coming on for this League One playoff preview here on SAFC Fan TV. Don't forget that today's video is sponsored by the One Football app. Link in the description below if you want to get that downloaded. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, guys. May the best team win in the League One playoffs for the 2020-2021 season. And as I say numerous times on SAFC Fan TV, this goes to all of you as well. Keep the faith.